Do you have a cold intro idea of any sort?
Brexit.
Oh,
What about
yeah,
that?
no, I was just about to say, obviously Brexit. So, I mean, the thing is, like, what is there to say, Luke? I mean, it's just, to be honest, I haven't actually looked at really anything that, like, this morning, I picked up on the fact everything was kicking off. What has happened today, Luke? You can be my thingy. I don't know what it is, but, like, my person who tells me things.
Okay, well, I have no idea what's going to happen, basically, in terms of the future of our country. But I just really, really hope that we get another referendum to fix this.
Yeah.
Because it's just a mess.
I mean, yeah, basically. I mean, here's the thing that I don't get, okay, Luke. I was thinking this when I kind of heard about all of the Brexiters who are angry that they don't think this is good enough. They're like, it's not Brexity enough. But the weird thing is, like, by saying that...
Not living in reality.
But the weird thing is that by saying that, they're kind of proving why we need a second referendum. Because the thing is, okay, I think this is my stance, and it is the correct stance. Number one, this referendum never should have happened, obviously, because it's a really complicated issue, and, so I'm not ashamed to admit that I don't think that people should have ever got to decide this. And
I completely agree. I completely agree. Like, our relationship with the EU is so complicated that there's no way, like, fucking Janice from down the street should be able to vote on it.
Yeah, and
I'm sorry about that.
And therefore, I don't think it would be bad. Any means to circumvent the democratic process in this case wouldn't really be a bad thing, because it never should have happened in the first place. However, it's worth noting, a second referendum isn't even, going against the democratic process, because all of these Brexiters, what they're basically saying is, I voted for Brexit, and now I'm unhappy with the deal. Which is literally exactly what the people who want a, second referendum are saying. They're saying we should have a referendum on the deal. And then these people are saying, I'm not happy with the deal. So they're literally proving the point that we should have a second referendum. So there we go.
Here's the thing. I remember when, before the referendum, I believe Nigel Farage even suggested that there could be like the Norway option. That's something that the UK could do.
Yeah.
And there was like a load of Brexiters like, oh no, there won't be a hard Brexit, we won't crash out, we'll still remain in the customs union with the EU. Now all of a sudden, 2 years later, staying in the customs union apparently isn't acceptable, and we need a hard Brexit.
Yeah.
It's like, well, wait, before the referendum you were like, what Theresa May is proposing, you'd be fine with that. Now all of a sudden you're not fine with that.
Yeah.
It's just they want a fantasy delivered. That's what they want. They want this magical deal delivered where the EU just cedes to all our demands, and obviously that's just not going to happen because they have all the cards.
Yes.
So yeah, it's not going well.
Back up, chump, Biggie Smalls rips it quick and kicks it quick. You know how black niggas get. With the hoods, fatigues, with the boots, with trees. Flipping trees, making crazy G's. Hitting buckshots at niggas that open spots on the avenue. Take my loot and I'm bagging. Pimping hoes that drive Volvos and rodeos. Flash the roll, make a wet in they pantyhose. Damn, a nigga style is unorthodox, grip the Glock. When I walk down the crowded block, just in case a nigga wanna act out, I just black out and blow the motherfucking back out. That's a real nigga for you.
Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast. We look at films that have come out relatively recently at the cinema and see if they still hold up upon a second watch. I am your host, Michael, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Luke, and this week we're celebrating the release of Fantastic Beasts 2, The Crimes of Grindelwald, by looking at the Fantastic Beasts 1 and Where to Find Them. So, Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about the Fantastic Beasts 1 and Where to Find Them?
Certainly, Michael. So, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is a 2016 fantasy film directed by David Yates. It's a joint British and American production, and it is a spin-off and prequel to the Harry Potter film series, produced and written by J.K. Rowling in her screenwriting debut, and it was inspired by her 2001 book of the same name. So yeah, I do wonder if anyone who went to watch this movie and didn't know it was in the Harry Potter universe or a prequel to Harry Potter. I do wonder. I think probably 100% of people watching knew that.
Yeah,
but
I
anyway,
think basically, let's be honest, they wouldn't have made this film if they weren't going to make it very obvious that this is part of the Harry Potter franchise. Because if this wasn't part of the Harry Potter franchise, I doubt it would have been that successful. And that's not necessarily a comment on the film so much as just the nature of the world we're living in.
So you know how successful it is then, Michael?
You know what? I mean, I don't know how successful it is. I'm imagining it was reasonably successful, like at least.
Well,
But yeah, okay. Anyway, I mean, this is usually we talk about whether or not we liked it, but we did have a perfect segue going there, Luke, didn't we?
Yeah, well, no, I need to mention who stars in this movie.
Of course, yeah, of course you do.
Otherwise, the people won't know.
Eddie Redmayne.
So, Eddie Redmayne,
Still
he does
your
star
thunder.
in this movie. Catherine Waterston, Dan Fogler, Alison Siddall, Ezra Miller, Samantha Morton, John Voight, Carmen Ejogo, hopefully I said that right, and Colin Farrell. And it was released on the 18th of November 2016, so almost 2 years ago. And you want to have a go at the budget, Michael?
Oh god. I mean, I'm gonna guess over 100 million, but I'm going. Yeah, I think okay. I'm gonna go for exactly 200 million. No, I'm gonna go for 200 million. It's probably. I feel like it might be below. If it's a lot above, then I'm gonna look like an idiot. But I feel like it might be below. But I'm gonna go for 200 million.
It is not a lot above, Michael. It's $175 million to $200 million.
Hey.
So around that range. So yeah, that's a very good guess. That's
I was gonna go for
form.
182, but yeah. I mean, I can't really. Seeing as I don't deserve any credit, but I was thinking about it.
Nah, pretty good guess. So how much money did it make at the box
Yeah,
office?
this is where it's going to I'm going to guess. I'm going to start with my full process. I'm going to guess at least 500 million. I don't think this would have made it. See, the thing is, there are factors involved. Like, people would be excited to return back to this universe. But having said that, I think this is a kind of pretty poor excuse for returning back to that universe. Like, people like, I mean, we'll talk about this later, but people like Hogwarts. So I really don't think this made $1 billion. But I think it probably made a reasonable amount. So I'm going to go for 800 million.
Well, Michael, you are on it this week, I have to say. Like, you've had a few disappointing performances, but fair play, you've come out really fine this week. $814 million was the box office. So yeah, you were very close. So congratulations, Michael.
I'm so proud. What do I win?
You win your respect back.
Good. That's good. I feel like we're back into the predictable films now. One of these weird horror films and funny films starring Jim Carrey. Anyway, but regardless of the budget, did we like it? That's something. Did you like it?
I'm gonna say no, Michael. I did not like this movie.
Yeah, I'm also pretty much gonna say no.
Right, okay.
So I didn't love it. I did.
Here's the thing, Michael. I was looking at the reviews.
Yeah, did it get $1 billion? 100% paid off critics.
Nah, it was like 74% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I looked in the critics review section on the Wikipedia page. And basically, there's a lot of people who are who praised the movie quite a bit. So I was like, oh, maybe you and I are going to differ on this one. Maybe you're going to like it more, because apparently I was going against the grain. But no, we both disliked it. Another kind of Last Jedi thing, perhaps.
Yeah. I mean, I think obviously I have a few positive things to say, but ultimately, I would say this film was kind of disappointing. Would be a very good term to describe it. I wouldn't say it was bad. Yes. I'd just say, so I wouldn't say it was bad, but I would say I disliked it, probably.
Maybe.
We'll see. Move these keys, because they're annoying me. Anyway, all right, okay. But regardless of how much we thought films were, and didn't really like them, we usually have nitpicks. So do you have nitpicks, Luke?
I have 3, Michael.
3? Okay, I only have 1, so I get to go first. And to be honest, Luke, it's a bit of a big one. It was a major continuity error. Now, there's a scene where they stand in Eddie Redmayne's suitcase, and I guess somebody must have been sleeping in the editing room, because they get into the suitcase, and I don't know if it was a problem with the props or just a general continuity error, but the suitcase is noticeably not big enough to fit the room that they're in, and I thought that was pretty just embarrassing on the part of everyone involved. That's not actually my nitpick, Luke.
Yeah, I was going to say,
but it is related. Okay, so it's a pretty silly one anyway, but there's a bit where Eddie Redmayne is like, these two animals are one of the last 2 breeding pairs. And the implication of that is that by saving the last 2 breeding pairs, this species now has a chance to avoid extinction. However, Luke, I knew in my head, I was like, I remember reading that you need significantly more than, I think I said 2 breeding pairs, which is redundant, but you need significantly more than 1 breeding pair in order for a species to avoid extinction. I did a bit of research, Luke, and you'll like this. You need 50 to 150 or 25 to 75 breeding pairs for a species to have a sufficient genetic diversity in order to avoid extinction. Otherwise, if you just have 2 of them, then obviously those 2 will then have children, and their children will have to breed with each other, and then they will all have cousins, and those cousins will all have to breed with each other. And what you would get is the inbreeding would become so disastrous that these species would die out due to infertility and, cripple all the problems that happen with inbreeding. You need, and that is your little fact there. I think really this nitpick was just to share that fact. You need 50 to 150 members, or 25 to 75 breeding pairs in order for a species to have sufficient genetic diversity to avoid extinction.
This nitpick is just basically to show everyone how smart you are.
Well, to be honest, I looked it up really, so I don't get that. But I did think to myself, I had read before that, you can't, it was basically in something to do with Noah's Ark. Like Noah's Ark, it was like, because obviously he took 2 of every animal. And so you can't have something survive with just 1 breeding pair. What are your equally stupid nitpicks, Luke?
Well, I just realised, Michael, I have 4 nitpicks, not 3.
Really? Okay,
so,
I'm interested.
Yeah. Okay, so my first one is there is no way that Newt can look after all of those animals alone. Like, he just won't have the time to do it. I refuse to believe that. He's got a job at the Ministry of Magic. Like, you think of all the animals he has, all the things he has to do to look after them in his suitcase. No, there's no way.
Maybe, okay. I don't know if there's anything in the film to contradict this. Maybe it's like a Narnia thing, where he goes into his suitcase, and even though it's like quite a while for him, it's only a couple of minutes or seconds even, in the real world, just like in Narnia.
Okay, so he can change time then. That's also a magic trick.
Yeah, he can change time, and that never comes up.
Yeah, here's the thing. There's so much shit. Like, for example, this with the fucking suitcase, the magical suitcase, and it's like I think that it was a CinemaSins video that once said, like, how are there any problems in the wizarding world? How are there any problems in the non-wizarding world when they can just do shit like this?
Yeah.
Like, they can just feed everybody and, like, house everybody. Like, how are there any problems with this magic? I don't know. It seems pretty selfish to keep it to themselves.
I think it's the small things that are especially surprising. Like, I kind of get, because obviously the way Harry Potter works is you basically just have, like, just some people are evil. Like, that's the rule for Harry Potter. They're clearly not Marxists. A Marxist would say, oh, there are not, they've got material abundance, therefore there's going to be no conflict. But I guess these people are just, they think like, oh, J.K. Rowling, notorious fascist, thinks some people are just inherently evil. So that makes sense. The thing is, like, what doesn't make sense is, the idea that there's just like your day-to-day criminal doesn't make any sense. It makes sense you'd have these massive mastermind criminals because they're just evil for the sake of being evil, but it doesn't make sense that you would have an entire government ministry. I mean, what is the Ministry of Magic's economics department doing? It's like, we need to get a surplus. Well, just magic more money.
Yeah.
I guess they must be Keynesians.
Yeah, they know all about that magic money tree.
Yeah, Jeremy Corbyn's magic money tree.
Jeremy Corbyn thinks he's working at the Ministry of Magic.
Yeah, that would be good. That would be a real burn. I can imagine Theresa May saying that.
Yeah, that would be right up her street.
I think people should Pokemon Go to the polls.
Oh my god, yeah. It's almost these books are made for kids. We really shouldn't go into too much detail. But whatever. My next nitpick. Tina Goldstein. You know that character?
Is that, I'm guessing that was one of the 2 women who... Yeah, which one was it? I'm guessing it was the mind-reading one?
No, it wasn't.
The opposite then. I mean, it's 50-50. There we go.
Well, good on you for paying attention, Michael.
I'm really bad with names.
Yeah, no, I know. Anyway, why was she arrested along with Newt and Kowalski?
I guess for being a Jew. No, for there we go. I'm on such a roll.
Every week.
Maybe aiding and abetting.
Yeah, but she brought them in.
Yeah, that's true. Was she? Okay, let me think.
She brought them in and said, I gotta show you this. These are the 2 people who are responsible, presumably, for the death of that guy. Why the fuck did she get arrested?
Also,
she
gets the death sentence. If actually, Luke, you know what? I was going to bring this up later, but it would fit as a nitpick, so I'm going to bring it up now. This, like, society is okay with summarily executing people who have just been pronounced guilty by one guy.
Yeah,
It's
well,
like-
here's the thing.
it's like
Like, obviously Graves, that's his name, was actually Grindelwald, or Colin Farrell was actually Johnny Depp. So he's like, he can do stuff like execute a couple of wizards without the courts, because he's an evil guy, but why did the rest of the people go along with it? That's what was confusing for
Yeah.
me as well.
They clearly need like a bill of rights in a society, because
Yeah.
apparently you can just be like, hey, this woman's gonna die for some reason, even though she didn't do anything wrong. So take her to the execution chamber, the very weird execution chamber.
Yeah, it's not that she just didn't do anything wrong. She actually
acted,
did something
yeah.
right. She actually helped them a great deal. Presumably, obviously they didn't know. They thought she was helping them a great deal by capturing the person who might have killed one of the no-magers.
Yeah.
So yeah, and yeah, well, she gets the death sentence for that. Great stuff. But anyway, my next nitpick.
Do you think it's a bit like that security officer who was shot by the police?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that's basically the same analogy. Yeah. She
Yeah, it
brought
was.
them in, and then the police shot her.
Yeah, but the security officer getting shot was because of racism. This one was because of sexism, Michael.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. I mean, there weren't any. It's not as if there's a black woman in charge of the American Ministry of Magic.
Yeah, I was thinking that. It was like everybody. Why would the Wizarding world be so much more progressive on those issues than the non-Wizarding world?
Yeah, especially seeing as, I mean, maybe we'll talk about this later, but especially seeing as in the American world they have this rule where you're not allowed to crossbreed with muggles. But whatever,
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, go on to your next nitpick.
Right. Okay, next nitpick. Okay, so Kowalski and Newt are apparently happy with Tina continuing to, go about their escapades in New York City with them, even after she got them both arrested. So there's no hard feelings for Newt when Tina literally just, fucking, I don't know, betray. Betray is quite a strong word, but yeah, just basically gave them up to the, what was it called, Macusa? But yeah, they don't care. They're just like, yeah, come on, you can, because you got arrested as well. Yeah, you can continue going on our wacky adventures with us finding all these creatures.
Maybe it's because they're beta male cucks, and they were hoping that if they were nice guys, she'd reward them with sex.
Is that always your answer, Michael? These,
It's always
questions.
the answer.
It's always the answer. Okay, and my final nitpick is just a nitpick you can just do with any Harry Potter movie, and this movie as well. It's just the inconsistencies with magic and people not using magic at some places and not saying spells at some places, but it's just like it's just an absolute nightmare to just keep track of like all this. So I just said it's a general nitpick.
Yeah, magic is intrinsically bullshit. In fact, actually, that's something
Yes.
I want to talk about when we talk about the Harry Potter universe. So yeah, but apart from that, you did describe the plot, didn't you, Luke? Or
I did not.
Okay,
I did not.
All right, good. Describe the plot then.
Well, here's the thing, Michael. I think it's kind of another Last Jedi thing. I mean, this is another thing we're comparing to The Last Jedi. Obviously not just in how the critics raved about it and how we both don't like it, but in regards to the plot. Because I said about The Last Jedi, there's not really a plot to it. It's not like an A story. It's just a bunch of stuff happening, and then everyone, it's like a wheel spinning. It's like, oh, characters all go through this, I don't know, they do various things, and then obviously the movie ends. There's nothing really significant that happens. It's not really a plot. And in this movie, there's two things going on at the same time. I don't know which is the A story and which is the B story. I don't know which is more important than the other, because it is like a TV show. The movie keeps on cutting back between one story, which is Newt trying to catch all these animals that
This
have
really did feel like a
escaped in
TV
his
show,
suitcase.
actually.
Sorry?
This really did feel like a TV show, and you could imagine it being like, because obviously the thing is, it's like he captures all these beasts. So you can imagine it almost being like a TV show like Supernatural. Obviously in Supernatural, they're monster hunters. So they go and they hunt vampire in one episode, they hunt a werewolf in the next episode. That's what they should have had, really. Newt Gunray, going around, she can't do that, shoot her or something.
Shoot her or something.
Is she not dead yet? It is a volcanic planet. You will be safe there.
They've run up the ventilation shaft.
Anyway, and you know what? I think talking about that film, it's an example of how truly great prequels always are.
Oh yeah, prequels. Just
wonderful.
always capture the magic of the originals.
Anyway, yeah.
So you got the one story, which is Newt trying to capture all these escaped beasts that have got out of the suitcase, but then another story, which is happening at the same time, which Newt is barely involved with. Certainly apart from at the end of the movie, which is basically this obscurial thing, which is causing havoc amongst in New York City, and Grindelwald wants to find it, and also Macusa wants to find it as well, wants to know what's going on with it. So, and obviously the main character is meant to be Newt Scamander, but he's not really involved in that actual story.
It's a bit of the Hobbit syndrome, where the Hobbit becomes lost in the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly, Milo. I called you Milo there. Michael. Yeah. Yes. And obviously The Hobbit is another famous prequel that did not do so well. That wasn't that well received. So anyway, let's get in.
The plot.
Let's get in the old plot. I think obviously I was describing the plot, and one of the issues with the plot is it's kind of split into two movies.
Yeah, I had something to say about that, but I kind of wanted to relate it back to the original Harry Potter, so I'm going to be a bit sneaky here and just leave that until the end, because I think it's also the strongest point as well. I want to start with my smallest point first, Luke. And this isn't really to do with the plot, but it kind of is. It's an editing thing. But it could be on the characters, actually. If I was being smart, I'm going to put this on the characters, because I want to. But okay, I have another criticism. A very small criticism.
Tiny.
My criticisms are going to get bigger and bigger as things go along.
Nice.
Well, actually, I've got one positive too. But yeah, I didn't like how the dark, I've forgotten the name of them now, Obscurials? I didn't like how the Obscurious or Obscurio at the end survives.
You didn't like that?
Because it was like the whole thing was like really, really like emotional, because it was like it's kind of like that classic scene which I think they have in I've seen it in quite a few things, where you've got the person who's pursuing XYZ thing, and obviously they reach a point where they kind of come to an understanding with the alleged bad guy, such that we find ourselves sympathizing, at least slightly, with the bad guy. However, at that exact moment, the government bureaucrats come in, and they mercilessly kill the bad guy, and of course it creates a morally confused situation where it's like, hey, obviously they're kind of good, because, they've just come in and defeated evil, and yet at the same time we've kind of grown to understand that the evil isn't as purely evil as we once saw it as.
Just like in E.T.
Yes, just like in E.T. But yeah, also, I've seen that in quite a few kind of things. And it's quite an effective thing. It's quite an effective way to give some moral challenges to the film. But it's kind of just it survives. You see it crawling off at the end, and you're like, okay, so I guess it doesn't really matter. All of those emotions don't really amount to anything, because actually he was alive, so well done him.
Well, think about it, Michael. They got 5 movies here to get through.
Is that true? Is it actually 5? I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's 5.
I assumed they were just kind of doing it as they come.
Yeah. No.
And also, I have to say, Luke,
this ain't Star Wars.
This is a general point on the plot. This film does not feel like it's setting up a sequel. This film just feels like they were like, hey, let's do a completely random story that leaves no plot threads. Obviously there's this guy called Grindelwald, but he gets arrested at the end. So this could easily just be a standalone film. There's nothing, I don't know, obviously there's the crimes of Grindelwald, but there's nothing in it where I'm like, oh yeah, I want to see what's happening there. So yeah, I'm kind of surprised that they're actually I don't know, again, maybe it's Disney's Star Wars syndrome, where they're like, we're going to make 1 billion films, but we're not going to plan any of them out in advance.
Yeah, well, I don't know if this is planned or not. I don't know if J.K. Rowling's already got the 5 movies down. Well, obviously she wrote the 7 books, so you already knew what those movies were going to be like. But yeah, I'm really not sure. I just know they're producing 5. But basically my point was with what's it called, the Obscurial, that tiny bit escaping. If they're doing 5 movies, they're gonna run out of stuff eventually. They gotta get him back at some point. Maybe in the 3rd or 4th. When things aren't going so well. When they're struggling for ideas. It's like, oh yeah, remember that Obscurial thing? Yeah, we can bring that back.
Good, yeah, because remember it.
Remember it, yeah. So yeah. From a money-making point of view, not the worst idea.
I have a few more things. Well, have you got a lot to say about plot?
Yeah, but you go first, Michael. I'll
Okay,
let you go.
so I have this is kind of a problem with the Harry Potter universe. And actually, I'm going to leave this one to the end. There we go, I'm moving. Okay. So actually, you know what, Luke? It might be good for you to take it, because I've got one more thing to say, but it's like a positive. Maybe I will say my positive now, actually.
Oh, it's positive. Now go on. We've had a lot of
okay,
negative.
yeah.
Let's go with
So-
some positive.
I really, really liked the decision to show the Wizarding world from the perspective of a Muggle. That is the one thing that gave me like some enjoyment from this film, because it was like this fish out of water, like kind of straight talking guy. Because obviously in Harry Potter, you've got Harry Potter himself, who is from a Muggle background, and he is kind of experiencing the Wizarding world for the first time. But he's experiencing it obviously as someone who's a wizard, who's being inundated into this world. But this guy, who's like obviously a kind of classic 1920s New York dude, just being constantly befuddled and just experiencing all of this wizarding stuff for the first time from a completely like not really cynical, but kind of almost, I don't know, muggly perspective, I found to be
No madge, Michael. No madge.
no magi, which is a much worse term.
Well, it's such an American term, isn't it?
Yeah, actually is. Yeah, they like to keep
just
things
simple. Yeah. Very simplistic.
But yeah, like I found that to be the most enjoyable thing about this film. That it was, good protagonist.
Fair enough. Yeah, so I was thinking, like, usually in kind of one of these fantasy movies, the main character is the one who gets everything explained to him, gets introduced to this new world that he's going into. But this time it was, like you say, it was a side character, and it was a no-madge, Kowalski, that comic relief guy, which was interesting, I guess. It was nice to... But the thing is, like, I can imagine... I didn't really need to see it, because you can imagine a person would react like that. They'd be like, wow, everything's incredible, wow.
Yeah,
like,
I guess what I would say, and I'll probably do this because I always do
Am
this.
I dreaming?
I'll talk about what I think just a few things I think they could have done to make this film slightly more entertaining. And I would definitely say that keeping the whole, it's a Muggle and he's, really confused by the Wizarding world, and then he grows to fall in love with it, just like you would. I guess it makes sense because obviously the entire appeal of the Wizarding world it just seems like so, like everyone wants to be part of it. Everyone dreams of going to Hogwarts and just going to this wonderful magical world, and they can be like, oh yeah, this is what it would be like. So cute. And also, I guess I'll also say that the bit at the end, like everything about the way his character arc wraps up, I thought was really good. Like the way that he decides that he's gonna not learn about it or forget it, because obviously they have to, but then he does that thing where he sets up his thing. I basically liked the entire...
His bakery, yeah.
Yeah, basically I liked him as his character, and I liked his character arc. I just didn't like everything, the story that facilitated his character arc, which was, of course, as you say. Anyway, yeah, so
That's
now we can
criticism.
pretty much say whatever until we get to the big
Tear
point.
this movie to shreds. Yeah. So, Michael, what is the title of this movie?
Fantastic Beasts, and Where to Find Them.
Does this movie have anything to do with Fantastic Beasts and where to find them?
Yeah, you've got to find them around in New York.
You got to find them because you got to lose them first. Then you got to find them. See, that's the key.
It should be called How the Eddie Redmayne Lost Creatures-ness.
Yeah, like Fantastic Beasts and how to lose them.
Yeah.
In New York. Here's the thing. Like when I first heard the title of this movie, I was like, oh, he's going to go exploring in like some weird country or whatever and find these beasts, and maybe there's going to be a couple of bad guys who want to kill this beast. But, he's going to be like, no, I'm going to save them because these animals are special. And even though they've got like a horn, which is worth millions of wizard dollars, no, I'm not going to, these animals are worth more than money. I don't know. That's just the thing that I came up with in my head. Like,
you know what, Luke? You know how I was just saying that I'll talk about what I think this film could have done to be better?
Yeah.
That is exactly what I was thinking. Basically, I was thinking, two films I was thinking of when I was watching this, or thinking about this film. Number one is the Peter Jackson King Kong film, because it's obviously set in the 1930s. They go to this island and they see all these creatures, and then obviously they capture something. And the other thing I was thinking of was like Indiana Jones, but instead of artifacts, it's creatures. So it's kind of like, Eddie Redmayne's a professor, and obviously you don't rip off these films completely, but basically that kind of feel. And yeah, I was literally I was thinking, like, for example, he goes to New York, say, and he's just stopping off there, and then he meets the Muggle guy, And then maybe, because I like the Muggle, I mean, like I say, I like the Muggle guy.
Yeah.
So then they have the Muggle guy, maybe even he like hires a bunch of Muggle mercenaries. Maybe they go to Africa, and obviously it's the 1920s. Maybe they meet a British commander, and then there can be some African soldiers, and they can be like, we're going into the Congo to go find this ancient thing in this lost city, and it would just be there. Like, it writes itself, basically.
Yeah, it does. I don't know, why did they have to make it about the fucking obscurial thing, which Newt and his crew are just, obviously, they're just trying to catch these animals that they lost. Like, they're not involved with that storyline.
Yeah.
And so I just wonder, what is the main A story here?
Yeah, the two stories do not impact each other at all.
Yeah, the main characters aren't involved with that storyline, and I think nothing about what Newt's done or what he basically does really seems to solve a problem presented by the main conflict in terms of capturing his beasts.
Yeah, except for the Deus Ex Machina bird at the end.
Oh, that great, yes.
Saves all the days. Yeah, just
solves all the problems.
Just to clarify, I'm not sure. Are you aware that where the name Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them comes from?
Yeah, it's a I looked on Wikipedia. Obviously, it's a reference to a textbook that was used in the Harry Potter universe, I believe.
See, as you'll remember, Dylan once famously bought the Chamber of Secrets for PlayStation 1.
Yes.
And in doing so, he was trying to acquire a copy of the Chamber of Secrets for PlayStation 2, which is actually a really entertaining game. And
most definitely.
One of the things in it you can do is you can go to the library, and you can find that one of the missions. You actually have to get that book so that you can learn how to kill this.
Impress Hermione Granger.
Yeah, learn how to impress Hermione Granger. It's the Get the Pussy mission.
Great.
But yeah, obviously, and I mean that alone kind of gives you a sense of like the limitations of like naming it after a textbook in universe. But yeah, whatever.
Yeah. I've got a question then for you, Michael. Is this the first ever movie that's based on a textbook? And not just any textbook, a fictional textbook.
Yeah. I mean, what? It's
breaking new ground.
Yeah, it broke new ground.
It broke new ground. First ever movie based on a textbook. So yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like when the title's Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, just make it about the Fantastic Beasts
and where to find them.
And where to find them as well. And not like, oh, they're lost in New York, we have to catch them.
Yeah.
I swear.
Maybe they saw Madagascar and they were like, hey, what if we did that, but they don't go to the wild in the end? What if we just do the first bit of Madagascar?
Yeah, I guess so. So yeah, and at the end, the twist. I don't know about you, but I could see it coming. Because obviously, Colin Farrell was obviously a bad guy, so he's Grindelwald. Oh wow.
I didn't actually foresee him, I don't know, because I didn't really know any of the casting. I didn't foresee him turning into Johnny Depp. You could tell he was a bad guy.
Oh my god, he's Johnny Depp.
The other thing I thought was pretty obvious is that the girl wasn't going to be the Obscuria, because it was like obviously focusing on this guy who reminded me of Paul Dano from There Will Be Blood, but I don't know who was actually playing him. But obviously the guy with the black hair who looks kind of weak and weedy.
He's called Credence, by the way.
Credence, there we go. That's a band. Anyway, yes, they were focusing on Apollo Credence, and that's a really good reference considering the film we're doing next week. Spoilers. But yeah, it's focusing on Credence, but you're like, oh yeah, it's this girl. She's the Obscuria, and I was like, oh, I bet she's not. I bet it's this guy who's the Obscuria. And obviously he was. I was like, well, you know, what a surprise. The guy who they've been setting up and we've had loads of scenes with is actually the person who's relevant to the plot.
Crazy.
Shock. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. What else?
Yeah, but by the way, on Grindelwald, like, he's this very powerful wizard and all that. Like, wouldn't you be embarrassed that the guy, you were desperately trying to find this Obscurial, and it was the guy who you'd been talking to the last, like, however many weeks or whatever?
Yeah.
Like, having regular conversations with him.
How, like, just like
very,
somebody's
very
going to get fired for this. Yeah.
And also, why does he have to be a imposter at Macusa? I think that's what it's called. Yeah, Macusa.
For
magical.
For the twist, Luke.
Yeah, but why does he? Why? What advantage does it gain him?
It lets him be
What's
a twist.
he doing there? He can fucking find the Obscurial without being a member of Macusa.
Yeah.
Can't he? Why does he need to be in there?
I don't know. I mean, like, I guess it's just one of those things. Like, sometimes you have a dream, and you've got to do it, Luke. You've got to follow through on your dreams. And if your dream
Yeah.
is to be an infiltrator in MACUSA, then you just do it, Luke. And maybe we could all be a bit more Grindelwaldy in our lives.
Yeah, you know what? Fair play to the guy. He wanted something and he went out and got it.
Yeah.
He went and got that bread.
Yeah, well done him. But the other thing about this Grindelwald guy is, like, was he even mentioned in the original Harry Potter?
Probably not.
Because I was like thinking to myself, like, it would have been like one of the things that I can imagine them doing is something with Salazar Slytherin, because obviously you know who Salazar Slytherin is. Like, he's been mentioned, and he was like, they said they had the whole thing in the Chamber of Secrets where it's like Salazar Slytherin thought that mudbloods shouldn't be in wizard school. So like you already know him, and obviously maybe not do Salazar Slytherin because that's a bit obvious, but you think like it would, like, who cares? I don't know who this Grindelwald guy is. I mean, obviously he sounds a bit evil, so I know he's quite evil, but like, I mean, we don't really know how powerful he is, or how, like, is he more powerful than Voldemort? Is he less powerful? What's his motives? I don't know, and I don't care.
Okay. One more thing, by the way, I've just thought of. Right, so basically, Grindelwald sees this vision of Credence with this Obscurial thing. And so he's like, oh, you need to find the kid who was actually the Obscurial Credence. You know, I presume that's what he says on their first meeting together. But why doesn't Credence tell him, oh yeah, it's me. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but, you know, it's something to do with magic, obviously. And then maybe Grindelwald can explain what an Obscurial is, and it's like, oh, it's something that happens when you don't use your magic. And then Credence is like, oh, that makes sense, because I'm told not to use my magic. Why doesn't Credence tell Grindelwald that he is the Obscurial? Why not? Like, it surely would solve his issue with his abusive mother.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe he's just a moron.
Yeah, he'd learn to control his power, because obviously he's struggling with it. That's why he's turned into this weird thing. So, you know, he's like, oh, this person finally understands me, maybe he can help me. So I'll tell him, because I am living in agony on a daily basis. Whatever.
Yeah, poor discount Paul Dano.
Oh, God. So, yeah, as plot, Michael, to sum up, it doesn't really make that much sense. And also, I'm not really sure what we're going to be focusing on. What's the main story?
Yes, and that leads me on to my point I was going to bring up to kind of take us to the Harry Potter films, which is that the big problem with this film, ultimately, Luke, I think we can agree, and this is how I put it, is there was no narrative thrust. There was no, like...
That's a good phrase, I like that phrase.
This is where we have to be right now. And it got me thinking about, obviously, everyone knows that the first 3 Harry Potter films are a masterclass in storytelling, because each of them have their own separate mystery. There's the Philosopher's Stone, the Chamber of Secrets, and then there's, of course, the mystery of who killed Harry's parents with Sirius Black and all that kind of stuff. And yet, at the same time, and this is what makes it so clever, there is a revelation, an ongoing revelation, of the character of Voldemort. So we learn how evil he is because he kills that unicorn in the first one. There's that line where it's like, only a truly wicked person would kill a unicorn. In the second one, we learn that his motivation is that he's literally a magic Nazi, which is pretty great motivation. And then in the third one, we obviously don't really learn as much about him, but we learn a lot about Harry and Harry's character and Harry's backstory with the whole thing with, Peter Pettigrew and all that stuff. So, brilliant stories with a clear story. Like, oh, I know, okay, they're doing this. Why are they doing this? They're doing this to find out who is the person who's opening the Chamber of Secrets. Why are they doing this? Oh, they're doing this because they need to find out what is the Philosopher's Stone about. And I think, generally speaking, the other subsequent Harry Potter films move away from that direction. It's a lot like, oh, it's Mrs. Umbridge. She's making them all learn for their newts. Don't know what this has to do with the Order of the Phoenix. But, like, those first 3 films are really good. And obviously this film, again, I mean, David Yates, he directed, like, the last 5 films he basically directed every film other than the first 3. And it seems
really?
like, yeah, and it seems like once again, he's done a kind of nice little, just, yeah, like, things happen, and then at the end, like, that's actually my problem with a lot of the later Harry Potter films. A lot of the plot is just loads of random things happen, and then at the end there's a twist, and that's like the story. Like Goblet of Fire, The whole thing happens with the Triwizard Tournament, and then at the end, oh, it's Voldemort. It was all so they could get Voldemort. And then the fifth one, of course, even more unique. Lots of things happen with the Newts, or the, I don't know, whatever, the Owls. I don't know which order they come in. The Owl exams.
Yeah, who cares? The exams.
And then at the end, oh, Voldemort. It was all leading to Voldemort. So yeah, basically there's all this stuff that doesn't mean anything. But yeah, that's the problem. No narrative thrust is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I agree. Look, I haven't watched Harry Potter movies in a long time.
Yeah.
It's been years, several years since I watched the Harry Potter movies, and yeah, I don't know if I mean, if I watch them again, maybe I change my mind. See, the thing is, I remember Goblet of Fire.
Yeah, I know you said you enjoy Goblet of Fire.
Yeah.
I don't really mind people having their preferences, to be honest, as much as I like to harass people about it.
But the thing is, I think that was when, I was in my pre-sophistication phase of watching movies. Basically, what I'm saying, Michael, is that I think if I had to watch those Harry Potter movies again, I'd appreciate the earlier ones more than the Goblet of Fire, because I remember just liking the Goblet of Fire, and have thought to myself, like, why did I like the Goblet of Fire? I was just like, I liked the stuff
Dragons.
that Harry had to do. Yeah, I liked the dragons and all that. They were cool scenes.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, maybe if I watched those movies again, I wouldn't perhaps think the Goblet of Fire was that good.
Yeah. Here's another thing, Luke, and this is actually surprisingly a good point. It's not going to sound like a good point when I say it first, but there's actually a relevancy to it. Okay, the Harry Potter films, including, so we'll talk about the wider Harry Potter universe. The quality of the Harry Potter films directly correlates to how good the related Lego sets are. That is it's a scientific fact, okay? Because, of course, Chamber of Secrets has some really good Lego sets. So does the Philosopher's Stone and Prisoner of Azkaban. When you get to the Lego sets for the Goblet of Fire are just like, it's a underwater set, and it's literally just like a big bit of blue. And it's like, they're underwater. And then the dragon thing is literally just a stone and a dragon. It's like, you've got to fly around the stone and then get the dragon. But there's a reason why I actually think this is kind of a symptomatic of a real point, which is that the Harry Potter films have a really entertaining location, namely Hogwarts. Like, everyone wants to go to Hogwarts, and that's why if you have your little Hogwarts Lego set, it's a heck of a lot of fun to build your Hogwarts castle, and then you can get your little Lego character that you've made to look like you, and you can walk it to the Great Hall, bang Hermione, then walk it to the potions room.
How old is this Lego Hermione?
Well, I don't know. I mean, she's to be honest, like, I wasn't that old either, though. So she was probably older than me at the time. So that's fine.
Alright. That reminds me of that In-Betweeners joke. It's like when Simon says, I fancied her since she was 8. Yeah, and I think it's what's the tall guy called? Neil. Yeah, he says, that means you fancied an 8-year-old. Fucking great.
Classic. But yeah, I felt like that was a really important point in this. Oh yeah, so basically what I'm saying is, you have these really entertaining locations which everybody loves, and everybody wants to go to Hogwarts. Who cares about wizarding New York? There is no, like, sense of, like, I wish I was there. There's no sense of wonder in these films.
No, so they tried to do it in that suitcase, like, but it feels like fake wonder.
Yeah, the suitcase was so CGI. Actually, I don't know if I know it. I wrote this down under creatures, which we'll talk about later, but the CGI had some problems.
But I'm in general, I'm just talking about how the suitcase. Well, the thing is, it was actually fake. Those weren't actually real places. It was obviously just magic inside the suitcase, and it just didn't. Just didn't have the same. Like, if that was a real place and it wasn't in a suitcase, then you may have got that sense of wonder. But because, like I say, it was fake. That just didn't happen.
If they would have actually, say, gone to a place where there were magical beasts, and maybe they entered this, magical cave system or valley or something, then that could have been more inspiring of wonder. But really, it's basically like going to the zoo. I mean, that's the thing. Like, anyone can go to the zoo, but only a few people can go to Hogwarts.
Yeah, only a few people can go on safari to Africa.
Although, you know what this entire film made me think of? There's one joke in The Simpsons where Homer meets, I can't remember the guy's name, but he meets him and he's a celebrity. And then he's like, I'm going to the zoo. And Homer's like, wow, even regular celebrities, take their kids to the zoo, and the guy's like, actually, this is a celebrity zoo filled with animals you've never heard of. And then the little kid's like, Daddy, we're gonna miss the Fantastopotamus. She only sings twice a day. And that's basically what I was thinking about during this film. Like, I loved it if they
That's
had
good.
the Fantastopotamus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They should have called one of the animals that.
Good old
Fantastopotamus.
Easter egg for Simpsons fans.
Yeah.
But do you have anything else to say about the Harry Potter film in general? Or Harry Potter stuff?
No, I think we've covered pretty
You know
much
what,
all of
Luke?
it.
Don't tell me what I've covered. I did have one more thing to say.
All right, I was just going to tell you one thing I wrote down.
That's good, because that means I don't be dominating too much.
Yeah, it was you need kids. So
Yeah.
I think that's the thing with Harry Potter. Obviously, children who these kind of movies are meant for, they're going to relate more to the kids, than fucking Eddie Redmayne.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the thing is, have you seen the poster actually for the Crimes of Grindelwald?
I have now. What, the bunch of people that sit around like some kind of like that? It's, I don't know, like the people that are all kind of sat around.
I think you may be looking at a different poster.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? We'll get onto it when we talk about Eddie Redmayne's character, because I've got some stuff to say about that. But anyway,
Yeah, well, I can see a pretty
what do you
funky
want?
poster, but it's the first option if you type in Crimes of Grindelwald poster. But anyway, my one thing I wanted to say, about the Harry Potter universe in general, there is an innate conflict between the charming fun of the Wizarding world that doesn't translate into, number one, high fantasy. So high fantasy is things like Lord of the Rings, but like any kind of world where there's like this grand battle. It doesn't translate, because the thing about Harry Potter is it's fun and small. It's like the fun of going to Harry Potter is it's like you go to Diagon Alley, you go to that place where they do the butterbeer, you go to Hagrid's hut, you play a game of Quidditch. It's not like Lord of the Rings where it's, this is our last stand at Minas Tirith. And then the other thing is, obviously, it doesn't go well with government bureaucracy.
No.
Which we learned from the Star Wars prequels. And like, I think the problem, and this is like, it's going back to the magical inconsistency. One of the things I've never really been able to get behind in Harry Potter is like the wand dueling, because like it just like it's one of the reasons why I really do not like the final Harry Potter film, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, because it's like a battle of Hogwarts, but the way the wizarding like world works doesn't lend itself to like a battle, because all of the fighting is just complete bullshit. It's just like, I'm pointing my wand at you, well, I'm going to point my wand at you too. And there's like these sparks flying everywhere. But it's like, what is even, how do you beat someone? Surely the way you beat someone is in a wizard fight is you just speak faster. But you don't even need to speak now. So basically, like, I don't even know, like, obviously I would think
It's like you're playing a drum.
But instead, it's like you just go,
you need to practice like playing a drum. That's how you get good in these battles. Just constantly moving your hand up and down. Yeah,
I think
you get what I'm saying.
The thing is, what makes Harry Potter good is that it doesn't use violence to create the action, or it doesn't use action in general. Really, it uses kind of mystery. So the good thing is, you don't. I don't think there's really even. I mean, I guess there are some, but there's pretty much no action scenes in the first Harry Potter. It's just the mystery. It's like they go into the secret, abandoned or forbidden library section, and there doesn't need to be a scene where somebody comes in with wand and they go, they can just look at it and be like, oh look, and obviously even at the end, I mean, there's not a fight scene between Harry and Quirrell, that's his name, and that's kind of charming. Like, when you think about it, remember when films didn't have to end with massive action scenes, because all that happens at the end of the first Harry Potter is that Quirrell kind of goes, I am going to get you, and then he grabs Harry and then he starts melting from love, which is pretty dumb. But at least it's not like a 20-minute action scene. It's just literally he just dies, and I appreciate that, and it works. It works for Harry Potter because Harry Potter doesn't allow for action, because wands are just complete bullshit. There's no rules for how action works in a world where literally sticks are the primary weapon. So that's the other problem with this. You're trying to be like, oh, okay, so I guess you need a mystery. That's the problem. Harry Potter only works with a mystery, and these films do not have a mystery. So there you go.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like what you were saying before, by the way, about Hogwarts and this obscure little universe with the butterbeer and Diagon Alley and all that stuff. And obviously what this movie lacks is, well, the equivalent to that, it's fucking 1920s New York. not really an obscure little world, is it?
Yeah.
So yeah,
I guess
that's another thing.
and the closest thing they get is when they go to that kind of like, I guess it's supposed to be like a wizarding version of a speakeasy, like an old saloon, because I guess this is during Prohibition times. But it just feels like it's kind of like it feels like a joke. Like it's almost like the wizarding world in Harry Potter felt sort of authentic, but all of the wizarding stuff in here kind of just feels like it's a joke. It's like, hey, it's a speakeasy, but it's a wizard speakeasy. Hey, it's a government, bureaucracy, but it's a wizard government bureaucracy. Anyway, so
a lot of issues. There's no magic really in this movie, is there, Michael?
Exactly. No magic. Just
the true magic in Harry Potter wasn't what was coming out of the wands.
Yeah.
It was what was, I don't know.
It was the true magic was the friends we made along the way.
Exactly, the friendships, the butterbeer. That was the true magic of Harry Potter.
Yes, it was beautiful in a way. Anyway, so I do want to say some things about creatures. Not that much.
Go for it.
Basically, just like so much looks so fake. Like, especially the one thing that got me was like it was a bird. It was the bird at the end, the Deus Ex Machina bird, who we also see earlier on in the film, looked insanely fake. Like it was obviously supposed to be feathered, and you can tell when, like, feathers are quite an easy thing to tell when they're fake. It literally just looked like someone had painted on feathers on it. Like, it was not the texture of actual feathers. And that was, like, quite a consistent problem. Like, I guess they just had... Again, it's kind of like... I feel like what happened is they were like, we've got to have loads of different creatures in it. That was their attitude. Which, of course, could have been avoided if the entire film was about them, say, trying to find one creature. And maybe they can meet some other creatures along the way, but ultimately the whole film is about them looking for creatures. The problem is because the film is like, there's 20 creatures and they've got to find all of them. They, I guess, had to spend like thousands of man hours rendering these creatures, and ultimately they just decided, fuck it. There was only, I liked the platypus thing that stole money. First of all, because I guess because it was like more of a main thing, they actually bothered to make it look pretty realistic, but also because it was kind of like a neat thing. I was like, okay, that's fine, because it's pretty cute. It's quite a nice character attribute. I mean, stealing money. No, there are no other magical creatures that are notorious for liking treasure. That's unique. That sounded very sarcastic, and it kind of was. I mean, it was, but still, I did enjoy it. Final point, a lot of the magical creatures are kind of just hybrids, which I don't know, I guess that's just a trick as old as time. It's like, what if it's a horse with the legs of a dog? You're a genius. And that's
there was this animal which was it had like squid things coming out. What was it?
Oh yeah, it was like a dog with squid things, or like a lion with a squid face.
Yeah, but then there was a lion which was like one of those blowfish things.
Oh yeah, that was done.
Yeah, so I just imagine these people creating these animals. It's like, well, let's combine a big cat or a big predator with a fish or something that lives in the water, or like a squid. And then a blowfish, and then just keep mixing and matching until you get all these animals.
Yep. Anyway, so that's actually all I had to say about creatures. Are you okay to move on to characters?
Yeah, let's move on to good old characters. So do you want me to go through this? Because
that's
I
your
have
job.
the Wikipedia page open. That is my job. So first up we got Eddie Redmayne as Newt Scamander, an introverted British wizard, magizoologist. Yes, that is what I think it is, yes. A magic zoologist and an employee at the Ministry of Magic. Scamander is the future author of the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry standard textbook Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. So there you go. So what do you think of fucking Newt Scamander, Michael?
I think Eddie Redmayne was quite a good choice to play him.
I agree.
And I guess, like, obviously, a lot of the problem is with, like, the plot. I don't think there was really anything I can think of that bothered me about the way Newt Scamander was characterized. I hate his name, because his name...
It's a shit name.
It's like the Scamander thing is just the worst. Like, it feels...
Makes me think of gerrymandering.
It makes me think of salamander.
Yeah, I guess so.
But yeah, so terrible name. But I guess, like, I don't know, I mean, pretty believable professor, because obviously he played Stephen Hawking.
He did, yes. A great adaptation of what really happened in real life between Stephen Hawking and his wife.
Yeah, exactly. Everything, Rest in peace, Stephen Hawking.
Yeah,
rest in peace, Stanley.
Oh, yeah, that's actually quite sad.
Yeah,
but
it's
anyway,
quite sad. Anyway,
at least he lived to see one of his creations make $2 billion at the box office.
yeah, that's true. That's
That's
beautiful.
what it's
really.
all about. Beautiful.
Um,
So Eddie Redmayne. Okay, so here's the thing, Michael. This is what I was talking about with the poster.
Okay, I don't know
well,
which poster you're talking about.
With the Crimes of Grindelwald. See, at the place where I work, in the bathrooms, they got this poster of the Crimes of Grindelwald, obviously because the movie's coming out very soon. And on the poster, and I've been looking at some images on Google, and I can't seem to find a poster. That's the one that's the one I've seen. But basically, it's like obviously the Crimes of Grindelwald, and you got like Eddie Redmayne really off to the side. Like it's almost, if you just looked at the poster, you would not assume he's one of the main characters in this movie. So and here's the thing, like if you think about it, if you want someone to battle this evil guy, fucking Grindelwald, who is obviously the equivalent to Voldemort in this particular universe, then you're going to need someone, I don't know, maybe like the equivalent to Harry Potter. Someone who seems to be, like ambitious and very courageous, brave, those sort of qualities. And to be honest, Michael, Newt Scamander doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who, likes to engage in a battle against a dark wizard. Just seems like a kind of guy who likes his animals, who's going to go about collecting it, and, just doesn't really care about dark wizards and all that. So yeah, that's my take on it. What do you think?
I mean, I guess it's kind of... I think maybe they could have done... He's a background character, because the problem is, like, it's kind of dumb that he's a character. Like, he's a character because he wrote a textbook in Harry Potter. I think if they wanted to do it smart... Again, I'm going to go back to the Peter Jackson King Kong. In the Peter Jackson King Kong, Jack Black plays a director who wants to shoot a film of his, documentary exploration of Skull Island.
Yes.
But the main character, apart from obviously the woman and the ape, is played by Adrian Brody, and he is the lead actor in this film. And basically, actually he's not. He's the writer. I'm lying. Yeah, Adrian Brody. He's the writer. So he's obviously a more minor person in terms of like what's actually happening, because he's not the director or anything. But he's more entertaining because you kind of just he's not too wrapped up in the reason why the film's happening. So I think they could have had, maybe even something scandalous like an African person, if we go with my, plan of them going to Africa, but kind of like a hero who is recruited by Eddie Redmayne because Eddie Redmayne, he's an intellectual. I guess that's the problem, basically. Eddie Redmayne is an academic, and academics are not always, or really reliably, incredible, badass wizard fighters. So if he was like, I'm going to recruit someone else, who's, a really rough and tumble guy, then that rough and tumble guy could be our hero. Like in Jason and the Argonauts, where they recruit Hercules for some reason. So that's what I'm saying. Like, basically, they should have got like some guy who was more like they were like, hey, we need the muscle or something, and he was like, yeah, I'll do that. Don't worry about it. And that'd be good.
Well, so you sound like Sylvester Stallone then.
Yeah, well,
Are you suggesting that's Stallone?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I immediately contradicted my idea of it being an African person. That's because I didn't want to do an African accent.
Right, okay, I see. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, you care a lot about not being offensive.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So
Jude Law plays Albus Dumbledore.
Yeah, that's something, eh? Catherine Waterston as Tina Goldstein, next up on the characters, a grounded down-to-earth witch and former Aurora, fucking hell, I hope I said that right, employed by MACUSA. She longs to fight for what is right, but is demoted to a position well below her skill level. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean...
I don't know about that.
She's not that impressive. I mean, like, to be honest, I don't know why. I found her character annoying, but it's not for any... Like, nothing I can point to. I just... Like, I don't know, there's something about her. She just seems, like, too...
Just really whiny.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And she's a bit of an interferer. It seems like I would actually be really annoyed if she worked for me.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, there's not much to say about Tina Goldstein, to be honest. Dan Fogler as Jacob Kowalski, a genial nomad cannery worker and aspiring baker who is accidentally exposed to the New York City magical community upon meeting Newt.
Wait a minute,
this guy was good.
Did the creatures have a... How did the creatures evolve? Did they evolve? I was just thinking about it. I was just thinking about the creatures, and I was looking at like thinking about the duckbill platypus that steals money, and I was thinking, it looks a lot like a duckbill platypus. I wonder if it has a common ancestor with the duckbill platypus we know. And I was thinking, like, did they evolve? Did they have a parallel evolution? Are wizards young Earth creationists? I was just thinking, I mean, maybe that's just something to ponder. Anyway, yeah, like you say about this guy, yeah, really, I don't think there's anything that was wrong with this guy. I just think he should have had, like basically he's like, it was a bit like kind of I guess maybe they could have given him more funny stuff because I felt like he was a natural,
comic relief.
Comic relief, and I feel like
are you saying that because he was fat?
Yes, but I think it was kind of like inherently comic relief just because of the ridiculous situation he was in.
Yeah.
But they could have actually made him even more comic reliefy, and that would have been great. But yeah, I think I've already kind of spoken about him quite a bit.
I appreciated that they didn't use him for comic relief that much, to be honest.
Oh well, yeah,
it's something I appreciated. Yeah,
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm a liar. Actually, I did want to mention one thing about that guy.
What?
So I said that the thing. I was going to say something, and I said actually I could put it under characters, and it was an editing decision. Okay, and this is important. Basically, there's a scene where Tina Goldstein is trying to use Alohomora to get into a locked door, and then the muggly guy, Mr. Muggle, kicks the door down. And I guess that's supposed to be like a comment on like, being a complete brute contrasting with magic.
The subtlety of magic, yeah.
But the problem is, the way they cut it was the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life, because, like, I think about, and you probably don't remember this scene, but there's a scene in Jurassic Park 3 where where Tim Kirby, I think his name's Tim, that would be embarrassing if I got that wrong, Mr. Kirby is looking at a vending machine. He's like, does anyone have any quarters? I've got $1, I got a couple of dimes, and in the background, Billy kicks the vending machine and it smashes, and then he takes out all the stuff, and it's just a little funny moment. And it works because it's one continuous scene. So it's like, anyone got any quarters? I've only got a dime, smash. The problem with this scene is it's like Alohomora cuts to another location, because it's like a big action scene, then it cuts back to her. Alohomora cuts to another location, and then the next scene, literally the guy is already in mid-kick, and he's kicked the door down, and I just thought to myself, that's weird. That was a weird editing decision. And I don't usually talk about editing decisions, but I just thought like, it should have, like, because it could have been a comedic moment, like Alohomora, bit of a gap, and then the guy just kicks the door down. But it lost the humour, like the inherent humour of it, in the edit, which I thought was a weird decision.
Fair enough. So yeah, that's Dan Fogler, Jacob Kowalski. I think we can both agree he did a good job. We got Alison Sudol as Queenie Goldstein, Tina's younger sister and roommate. She's described as a free-spirited and big-hearted bombshell. And naturally born skill, Ligma. The film is Sudol's featured.
Did you say Ligma?
like Gilman's. What did I say? I said Ligma.
Which is obviously a joke, because you go, hey Luke, I've contracted a really bad case of Ligma. Ligma booze.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Anyway, but I do want to say, okay, I thought the romance was kind of like nonsense, or I don't know. Like I have this problem, Luke. I'm really anti-romance in like action adventure films, because I just think like it just seems so like forced a lot of the time. It's just like I don't know, like really, why do they have to be in love?
It feels like the opposite.
Yeah.
Action adventure is like fun, fast-paced kind of thing. Like romance is, that's kind of like a bit of a different tone, really.
It's why I'll always respect the Hunchback of Notre Dame, the Disney version, because they had the balls. I feel like I mentioned this before on this show.
I think so.
They have the balls to just say, you know what? Sometimes ugly people don't find love because they're just so damn ugly. And I was like, you know what? Good for you, Disney. It's important people understand that, because like
that is the movie's message.
Yeah, you know that, like, I mean, 9 times out of 10, if Disney's making the Hunchback of Notre Dame, they're going to be like, well, we've got to have the Hunchback of Notre Dame get a love interest at the end, because it would just be so lovely and wonderful. And then some guy was like, no, you know what? He's too ugly. He's not going to get a love interest. And I'm like, good for you. Well done. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, that's what I have to think about that character.
Yeah. Do you remember that character in 300?
Yeah.
He's not getting any love anytime soon. He got
a nice romance arc with that weird goat lady.
Yeah.
That's a weird film.
Imagine their kids.
Yeah, beautiful. Maybe it would be like a kind of 2 negatives equal a positive. And their
maybe.
kid would be like gorgeous.
Okay, bit weird calling a kid gorgeous,
Yeah,
Michael.
that kid would be so
Just-
sexy.
We got Ezra Miller as Credence Barebone. Is that his actual
Oh.
name? Credence Barebone.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Um,
Mary Lou's troubled adopted son, who is an obscurial.
yeah, he plays a really good creepy freak boy.
He does almost too well.
Second only to Paul Dano.
Yeah, as you've said. So yeah, this guy, he's like, just doesn't tell, as we've discussed before, doesn't tell Grindelwald, oh yeah, by the way, I am the obscurial person you're looking for, and, maybe you can help me, because, obviously, they said, like, if you're 10 years old or whatever, if you have an obscurial, or you are an obscurial, and you're over the age of 10, no one's looked past that. So he must have been suffering a lot of pain, Michael. Must have been really fucked up, but nah, he still didn't tell fucking Grindelwald that. So yeah, that's him. Like you say, Ezra Miller plays a really good, creepy, weird guy. So that plays into that, for that. We've got Samantha Morton as Mary Lou Barebone, a narrow-minded nomad and the sinister leader of the New Salem Philanthropic Society, or the Second Salemers, a group whose goals include exposing and killing wizards and witches.
Yeah, that's
So, yeah.
pretty irrelevant. Like, it's kind of weird how much... I mean, I would almost call it, like, clever, the fact that plot amounts to so little, because ultimately they will just get killed. But, I don't know. I don't think this film is a time to be doing unconventional plot arcs that amount to nothing.
Yeah, the thing is, isn't it just an incredible coincidence that this incredibly powerful wizard, Credence Barebone, happens to be adopted by a person who absolutely hated wizards?
Yeah, well, I mean... see, okay, here's the thing, okay? Obviously there's the Dursleys in Harry Potter, but the reason why they hate wizards is specifically because of their relationship with
Yeah,
wizards.
Harry.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So yeah, that makes sense. But in the case of, yeah, I mean, maybe it's just because she's got so... I don't really know. I mean, I think that would be good. I think they should put out an official statement on this. What percentage of wizards, or what percentage of the population are wizards in this universe? I would like to know that.
That'd be good. Yeah, and how come a wizard, say, like Hermione, how can she become a witch, I guess you'd call a witch? How can, like, because she obviously she has mudblood parents, so how does she then become a witch? I don't understand that. And maybe it's explained in the books.
Maybe it's midichlorians.
Midichlorians.
Someone met Hermione and they were like, can we get a midichlorian count on Hermione? No one has a midichlorian count this high, not even Albus Dumbledore.
Oh god. Great stuff.
Ron, I've been wondering, what are midichlorians?
Was that a Hermione impression?
Yeah, it would have been good if Hagrid could have said it. Like, you got midichlorians, Harry.
You got so many midichlorians.
That would have been
Just
good.
look at that.
They could have
Just look at that number.
They could have continued the prequel trend by having midichlorians, like these what were they called? Mysterios, Obscurios. These Obscurios have the highest midichlorian count of all. It's too high. The midichlorians are taking them over.
Oh, thank you so much, George Lucas, for
Yeah.
that wonderful concept. We've got John Voight as Henry Shaw Sr., a newspaper owner and the father of U.S. Senator Henry Shaw Jr. and Langdon Shaw.
Hot take: should have been played by J. Jonah Jameson. No, that's the character. Should have been played by J.J. Simmons.
Yeah, I'm just happy to see John Voight is still alive.
I would have liked if it was, because imagine how much better the film would be if it was J.J. Simmons. He'd be like, "What are you doing in my office? Get out of here!" Now you can say, I'm just kidding.
Well, he'd say that to the Obscurial.
Yeah, and then Fantastic Beasts could come in. He's like, I've taken these pictures of Fantastic Beasts. Do I get enough money to take Mary Jane out on a date? And then it would just be great. To be honest,
Yeah.
and then they could have Sam Raimi, director. Would be much better.
How dare you sully Ralph Baksh's name by comparing him to the great Sam Raimi?
That's the opposite.
How
bro.
dare you?
You said sully Sam Raimi's name by... Wait, no. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Anyway.
Was I being sarcastic or not? That's the question.
Yeah, I'm so confused. Anyway, okay.
So let's talk about this memorable character,
Yeah,
John
I
Voight.
felt like
Remember when?
hit the bottom of the barrel almost.
Yeah, remember when he told the photographer to keep taking photos?
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Yeah, like he wasn't going to do that anyway.
Yeah. Classic.
Yeah, so yeah, he a very important character in this movie. I'm glad we got a nice arc with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, we're done, I think.
Yeah.
Because, well, we got Colin Farrell, and that's the thing, Johnny Depp. I think it might actually be at the bottom. He's the second to last. Johnny Depp as Gellert Grindelwald.
Yeah, I have a very tangential point about Johnny Depp, but I did want to hear your hot take on it. Mostly because this morning, actually, when I woke up, I clicked on YouTube because I was curious, and I saw a video, and it was basically a kind of video essayist complaining about J.K. Rowling. And it's because J.K. Rowling, of course, came out and confirmed that Dumbledore is gay, and she did that way back in like 2006 or something. So she said Dumbledore is gay, and then obviously the thing is that was already after all the books had been published, so there was no real way that you could show that Dumbledore was gay at that point.
I think there's a term for this, Michael. Is it like it's not gay baiting?
It's queer baiting.
Queer baiting.
Basically, here's what happened. Okay, Grindelwald. I don't know if you know this. I only know this because of
He's a pansexual.
Grindelwald was in a relationship with Dumbledore. That is.
I did not know that.
And Jude Law is playing Dumbledore in Fantastic Beasts 2. So you might think, because we live in a new progressive world, that therefore the film would feature at least an implied, if not somewhat explicit, obviously maybe not a massive gay gangbang, but possibly even a kiss, say for example, between Albus Dumbledore, played by Jude Law, and Johnny Depp, played by Grindelwald, or at least a scene where Grindelwald drinks an entire bottle of wine in the morning and then goes on an angry drunken rant at Dumbledore. I think that would be a bit of a stretch for Johnny Depp, but I'm sure he can manage it. But basically, they're not going to do that. They came out and they said, no, we're not going to... They basically pretty much said that within the films, Dumbledore isn't gay, because that would be too controversial. So, and J.K. Rowling was like, yeah, obviously. So basically, J.K. Rowling has confirmed, J.K. Rowling, isn't it? But whatever. Has confirmed that she is a queer baiter. She said Dumbledore was gay so that she could seem progressive, but now it's actually come time to put her money where her mouth is. She's been like, well, we're not going to make him gay in the films, obviously. So what do you think about that, Lou? Do you think she's a queer baiter and should be summarily executed in a big wizard execution chamber?
You know what, Michael? I have a lot of problems with J.K. Rowling, and it's a shame that I do, but I do, and this is just another one. It's just another problem.
Do you actually have a lot of problems with J.K. Rowling? I was wondering if that was like something like she actually had this really problematic past. I remember one time she basically said like anyone who voted for Brexit was a fascist. So I mean, obviously that's correct. So
I mean, she often wades into politics actually, and she's not that smart really when it comes to that. So yeah, that's all I'll say on J.K. Rowling.
Yes. Yeah, silly woman. Anyway.
But yeah, queerbaiting. No, it is an issue, Michael. We shouldn't make light of it. I don't think you were, but we shouldn't, because obviously people who are queer, who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, etc., do want to see those people represented in movies and not just get like oh yeah, they're gay kind of thing tossed on the end of it. It was like that with Lando Calrissian in Han Solo. It's like, oh, Lando Calrissian's pansexual, even though it's not referenced in the movie. They just said it afterwards.
Yeah.
Or one of the producers or directors said, yeah, he's pansexual.
Should have got the Moonlight director. That would have solved everything. Could have had a nice romantic scene where Dumbledore jerks off Grindelwald on a beach.
Oh god.
Anyway,
he tries to, but he's jerking off a wand instead.
Yeah.
It's quite awkward.
Imagine that would be like, imagine how thin. I bet that's like an insult. Like, how we have pencil dick. There it's like one dick. It's like longer, but skinnier.
Oh god, yeah. There must be so many jokes in the wizarding world about wands and the length of wands and how powerful or strong your wand is.
Yeah. That would be like, I bet that's like a whole, there's like a massive male complex about it where like if their wand isn't working, like imagine that, like you just can't get your wand to work. Usually this never happens, it's the pressure.
I swear, this is the first time.
It's like in the In-Betweeners when Simon can't get hard.
Okay, I think we should conclude, Michael.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, that was quite quick. I was wondering how quick it would be, and it's been pretty darn quick.
Pretty swift, yeah.
Pretty Taylor Swift. Yeah,
do you want to go first?
Say. So, yeah, that was a very, well, disappointing film, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It had, I guess, some potential. I guess, like I kind of said, I think that the Harry Potter films were actually quite limited. You know what, actually, something I did want to say, I haven't brought this up before, but it bears saying, J.K. Rowling didn't invent the idea of a school for wizards and witches. The author Anthony Horowitz already wrote a series of books in the 1980s about a school for wizards and witches called Gruesome Grange. And Anthony Horowitz is a reasonably popular author.
Yeah, so I've heard of him.
I think it's, like, I don't know exactly what the deal is with Gruesome Grange and Harry Potter, but it's a bit confusing. Like, obviously, I guess like most people haven't heard of it, but at the same time, I don't know. Anyway, so basically, J.K. Rowling didn't invent the idea of a school for wizards.
Are you saying J.K. Rowling's a hack fraud?
Yeah, but also, like, I don't know. Like, I kind of think it genuinely is like one of those examples of like she wrote a couple of really good books, but then I don't know. Like, I mean, I think the story even is kind of lacking in the last couple of Harry Potters, and I don't know. And also, Daniel Radcliffe can't act. There we go. Now, but this film though, it has like I said, a lot of the problems with the later Harry Potter films. Namely, it's aspiring to this big grand conspiracy and having all these action scenes, and also this villain who isn't Voldemort but we're supposed to care about him, even though he doesn't get anything like the attention that Voldemort gets in Harry Potter. And I mean, like, that's the thing. If you just go like toe to toe, for example, Harry Potter has a massive history around Voldemort that he doesn't even know of. With the whole Scar thing, he murdered his parents. Eddie Redmayne doesn't know anything about Grindelwald. He doesn't even hear about Grindelwald until like does he even hear Grindelwald's name mentioned once in the film?
Who? Eddie Redmayne?
Yeah. Like, I feel like at the end, to what's his face turns into Johnny Depp.
He says it. He says, "I'm not one of your Grindelwald fanatics," to Colin Farrell.
Oh, okay.
Who's obviously Grindelwald.
So yeah, he has heard of him. But yeah, basically he's completely irrelevant to the plot, and that's the problem. Like, the two things are happening on different levels, so it doesn't work. And yeah, there are a lot of The Last Jedi vibes. Having said all of that, there were still elements I liked. I thought some of the characters were pretty fun. I think this is quite a hard one for me to place. I'm going to go ahead and place it just below Dunkirk and above Goal.
How dare you?
Yeah, sorry, Goal. Interestingly, my last film, The Grinch, was placed just below Goal. So Goal I've made a little Goal sandwich in these last two films, and there it is. Yeah, fantastic piece. Let's type it in. Let's make it set in stone. And where to find them? Wonderful. Luke, what are your thoughts?
So, like you, I thought Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them was disappointing. Like we talked about before, the plot is split into two. It's basically two separate movies. The title doesn't really make any sense because they're not trying to find Fantastic Beasts. So yeah, there's another issue. And a lot of things just with the plot in general don't make sense, especially with Grindelwald and Credence. And compared to the original Harry Potter movies, I think there, especially the first three, like you mentioned, there's certainly a lack of wonder, a lack of magic. Compared to those movies, it's set in New York City compared to Hogwarts. And also, I just didn't find this movie that interesting. It was quite boring. I wanted it to be over. So I was debating, because obviously it's similar to The Last Jedi in a couple of ways. So I was thinking, because I gave The Last Jedi a 4.5 out of 10, I was like, is this movie better or worse than The Last Jedi? I was like, no, it's probably worse because I just think it's just more boring than The Last Jedi. It's just less interesting. So I'm going to give it 4 out of 10. I believe I've given two movies 4 out of 10 in a row. So yeah.
That's interesting. For the record, I have actually rated this higher than The Last Jedi, but I mean, to be honest, it's a bit, it's kind of much of a muchness, but anyway.
Yeah, I can't believe, like, this fucking guy in The Guardian gave it 5 out of 5 stars. So
I've seen some really weird decisions in papers recently.
Obviously, that was in 2016, but yeah. I'm not gonna disagree with you, Michael.
Yeah, I saw someone give Kingsman a 3 out of 5 in the paper, and I was like, I don't know. I mean, that seems a bit. I'd give it a 4.
Well, yeah, that's not too bad. What's the difference between 1? But fucking
Yeah, that's true.
5 out of 5 for this now.
Yeah,
Come
five, yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's not 5 out of 5. I mean, you know what it is, Luke? It's paid off critics, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fucking
that's what it always comes down to.
Warner Brothers got fucking doing a Disney thing. Maybe to copy this tactic of Warner Brothers.
Yeah, you know what, actually, it's always good to be, negative and critical about films, because then you can always argue that the establishment and the money is working against you. Because if you're constantly positive about a film, and then it gets, say for example you're a DC fanboy, you're constantly positive about DC films, and then they keep getting terrible reviews, you can't say, oh, it's paid off critics, because nobody's going to pay critics to do a bad review. So you've got to be like, oh, I guess critics don't like the film. But obviously, if you hate a film, like you hate The Last Jedi, and then you see critics, likes it, you can go, paid off critics, works perfectly.
Ingenious.
So that's why, so if you want to feel anti-establishment, just hate every film.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was this film, and next week we're going to be looking at, I already said what we're doing, Creed.
Yes, Creed. So I'll just wrap up then here, Michael.
Yep.
Thanks for listening to our review of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. We've been selecting and reflecting on it because of the launch of Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald soon. Oh, by the way, Michael, do you want to predict if this movie is going to be good or not? Crimes of Grindelwald?
I'm going to go for exactly the same as this, so bad. I think it's going to be very similar.
Well, I had a look on Rotten Tomatoes, Michael, just before, and like I said before, I believe Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them was at 74%. The Crimes of Grindelwald is at 50%, exactly.
Ooh, yeah.
So, 74% on Rotten Tomatoes for Where to Find Them, 50% for The Crimes of Grindelwald, 60 positive reviews and 60 negative reviews. So, yeah, it doesn't seem like it's that good a movie.
According to Anna Lesquiewicz, How Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald changes the Harry Potter backstory. J.K. Rowling's latest film includes new plot details that change the events of the original 7 books. So, good.
Wonderful.
In continuity. Albus Dumbledore has a secret brother? ?
Well, wait, I swear he was in the Deathly Hallows, wasn't he?
Nagini was once a woman.
Wow.
Dumbledore taught Defense Against the Dark Arts. Professor McGonagall is 130 years old.
Yeah, how do people age in the Wizarding World? Because if Jude Law, obviously he's about 45 in real life, so you assume he's around the same age in the 1920s. That must mean Albus Dumbledore was literally 110 in the original Harry Potter movies, because obviously they're set in the 90s. That's crazy.
I don't know, yeah, I mean, maybe... Yeah, it is a bit weird. Maybe Jude Law is supposed to be, playing a younger person, which can happen, but obviously still makes Dumbledore pretty old. So, unless maybe the film's set considerably in the future. I mean, not considerably, maybe it's set in the 1930s, and then... Also, it's worth noting, Harry Potter, I don't know about this, but the books are set, in the 90s. The books occur
That's
from,
what I just said.
Oh, crap. I completely blanked out every sentence you said.
Fucking typical. Yeah, they're set in the 90s because that's when Rowling wrote them.
So, basically, that would make Dumbledore 110 years old if Jude Law was 40. I don't know if you know that, Luke. I know you said that. But yeah, obviously then, let's say it's set in the 1930s instead, plus maybe Jude Law is playing someone 15 years younger, suddenly he's gone from 110 to a much more reasonable 85.
Yeah, whatever, Michael. Whatever. By the way, I just want to point out, it's J.K. Rowling wrote those Harry Potter books just in time, they're set in the 90s. Because if they were set, in the 2000s, or obviously this decade, then...
Imagine not having Wi-Fi.
Yeah, what about emails? They won't need those owls, they'll just be emails. And, imagine social media and Twitter.
Yeah. That's actually a whole College Humor sketch. This guy gets let into 2 different colleges or universities.
Yeah.
It's kind of a bit confused, because he gets let into Hogwarts, and he gets an acceptance letter from Hogwarts, and then the other one he gets let into is, this kind of, Crudsville County, New York State College, and it's we've got the 10th best scores in the Crudsville County wider area, and basically the whole thing is setting up how Hogwarts is this incredible place, and Crudsville, it's not actually called Crudsville County, but that's Crudsville County is this, obviously not very good place. Hogwarts is this incredible place. And then at the end, Crossville County's like, and we've got free Wi-Fi on campus. And Hogwarts is like, yeah, we don't have Wi-Fi. And everyone's like, okay, yeah, you got to go to Crossville County then. And that's the joke. And it's
That's
true.
a great joke. Yeah. Well, what about 4G though? Like, are wizards allowed to have phones?
Well, I heard, okay, this is the reason why they have candles in Hogwarts, because I don't know if you noticed, Luke, but they had, I mean, it's hard to remember, but they had lights in the 1990s. They had lights that you could turn on with electricity, but they don't use them in Hogwarts. And the reason they don't use them is because apparently no electronic technology works in Hogwarts. This is actually a canonical fact about Hogwarts. The magic directly causes the electronic technology to not work, and that's why they have candles and stuff. And I guess also ballpoint pens don't work, which is why they have feathers and ink. I don't really know what the explanation for that is. But also, this explains why, despite Harry Potter being set in the 1990s, at no point does Harry Potter try and put a VHS into the VHS player and say, oh no, somebody didn't rewind his VHS back to the beginning after they were finished using it.
Yeah, I'm thinking obviously because the 90s, there wasn't, you know, if you were to go to Hogwarts in the 90s, you were like, oh, I'm missing out on so much technology because technology in the 90s wasn't that great. But if you're a young wizard, like in this decade, and you like had to go to Hogwarts, you'd be like, I don't really want to go because I got no internet.
It is.
Like,
I think it's actually a very interesting question. I think ultimately, like jokes aside, I think most people would probably choose to go to Hogwarts. Because you know, I mean, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Luke. You can play. I mean, I know I'm having a serious conversation about going to a school for wizards and witches here, but I'm gonna just be honest with you, Luke. As your parental figure, I have to tell you is you've got to take this opportunity. You know, because you can do Wi-Fi, you can do all of that stuff anytime, but you know, Hogwarts. That's just one and you're done. Well, 7 and you're done.
But I can't watch porn, Michael.
I know, it is a bit. I don't really know what the rules. I guess you know what I mean. Invisibility cloak, girls' dormitories.
Yeah, but only Harry has that.
This was back in the 1990s when consent wasn't a thing.
Yeah, but so I guess if Harry's the only one that has it, he'd have to lend it.
I bet it was really crusty. Really crusty by the end of the school.
Oh my god, no, I was going to say that he'd make a killing off it. But,
yeah.
Yeah, that does sound like a good American Pie thing. American Pie, Harry Potter crossover.
Yeah, I mean they're like these expanded universes and universe crossovers. Anyway, I don't know if we've actually said bye yet.
No, I haven't. So basically, to sum up on the Crimes of Grindelwald, it's not going to be good. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah,
it's going to be probably worse than this, or definitely around the same. So 4 out of 10, maybe 3. Anyway, so thanks for listening to I'll talk about Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and a bit about Harry Potter as well. Join us next week for Creed. I believe that's just what it's called. Creed, nothing else. That'll be good, starring Michael B. Jordan. And who have you been, Michael?
I've been Michael.
And I've been Luke. See you next week. Goodbye.
Goodbye.